Today, I want to talk about how to turn your own brain into your ally and get it out of the way. Basically, smarter strategies for healthy eating goals for 2025. We all know most New Year's resolutions don't hold up, but we can still set inspiring and achievable goals for healthy eating and weight loss. And it's important not to give up on this, I think. I've been diving deep on New Year's resolutions and which ones work and which ones don't work, so I could bring you insights in January that could really help set you on the right track for 2025. So here's the thing, it's not that we're lazy, it's not exactly that we lack willpower. It's that our primitive brain is committed to keeping our habits running. It's standing in our way like a toddler saying, "No, I don't want to do that." That part of our brain is hardwired to chase short-term pleasures and to resist change. So how do we get it out of our way? How do we get it to work with us? We decide, I'm going to change my eating habits. And maybe in the morning we feel really good about it, but by the evening we're like, no, I'm going to do what I always do. So I want to show you how to get the toddler to quit fighting you. So it will actually support your higher intentions. So when you understand how to communicate with the primitive brain, how to get it to work with you, how to persuade it so it's not fighting you, it makes things so much easier. So a lot of us know we want to eat healthier and we want to get a breakthrough with our weight, and yet our old habits keep pulling us back. It's like inexorable. It doesn't let go. We set our goals, we set our steps. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And that is proven to be something that can be effective for achieving goals. But it's really difficult if our primitive brain is saying, I'm not going to do that. No. So we struggle to stick with it. It's because we fail to appreciate how our primitive brain is just going to keep our old habits running. Eating and drinking are very entrenched habits. So to change those is not just going to happen by writing it down on paper, right? We tell it we're changing our habits and it says, no, we're keeping our habits going. So today I'm going to help you understand the role the primitive brain plays in keeping us from achieving our goals. I'm going to give you some tools to get the primitive brain to work with you. Specifically, I'm going to share 2 ways to use visualization as a tool to achieve your goals. And I'm going to share one common mistake that tends to backfire, one way of using visualization that will actually make it less likely you'll achieve your goals. Let's avoid those mistakes, right? In video 2, I'm going to share a really powerful visualization exercise for when you feel like your eating and drinking habits just won't let go. So let's talk about the primitive brain. What is it and what is it doing? So the primitive brain is an older part of our brain. It's very fast and it is devoted to keeping our habits running. It is not persuaded by logic. It's not persuaded by lists or goal setting or words at all. It is not future oriented at all. It doesn't even have language. So telling it we're going to do this, it's like, no, we're not. So that's not going to sway it. So let me tell you what does sway the primitive brain. It is moved by, I abbreviate it as fiat, feelings. It is moved by feelings, especially feelings of pleasure and pain. Those are primary motivators for the primitive brain. This is trouble for us in these times, in this environment, right? So we need to become aware of this and help it. It is moved by images, imagery. This is trouble in these times because advertisers use a lot of emotional imagery and music, etc. It is moved by authority and it is moved by tribe or social influence. So we are quite naturally and instinctively going to do what feels good and what authority figures tell us is good and what people around us are doing, right? That's where we're naturally, instinctively going to go. So changing those habits is going to require a different kind of intention and awareness. And we're going to need to bring our primitive brain along. There's really big profits for industries that can persuade our primitive brain. So I know there's something like $14 billion per year in the United States alone spent on advertising for processed foods. And so the whole idea is they're showing you these treats with happy, slender, sexy people and sweeping emotional music. And we feel very drawn to it, right? It's designed that way, and it's out there all the time. And our toddler brain says, I want that, right? So that is being used for somebody else's profits. So we need to figure out how to harness this part of our brain for ourselves. So we can learn to take back our own brain when we understand how the primitive brain works. We understand what it cares about. We can learn to persuade it to come along with us. I've seen this many times in the Slender for Good community. I've seen it in myself. I discovered really clear guiding principles for how to eat to be as healthy as possible, to get back to a naturally slender weight and live there, even specific quantities of proteins and fats and fruits and vegetables that add up predictably to the results I wanted. So once I decided, okay, I'm going to try to eat this way, then I had to figure out, how do I get the primitive brain to quit fighting me and keeping me on my old habits? Do you relate to this? How do I get off this hamster wheel of saying I'm going to change my habits, but they just keep running on their own? It's called autocatalytic. Habits like eating and drinking are autocatalytic. They just keep running. So if we want to institute truly healthy eating habits that are quite different from what we've been doing, that will give us transformative results, we need to persuade our primitive brain to come along with this choice. And it's not going to be done with goals on a piece of paper. So remember fiat. Feelings are persuasive to the primitive brain, especially feelings of pleasure and pain. They're very primitive, right? Oh, that gave me pleasure, therefore it's good. That relieved my pain, therefore it's good. Highly processed treats are especially pleasing to the taste buds, and our primitive brain says, good, this is good, right? In fact, we will say that to each other, oh, this is so good. It's not necessarily good for us, but it tastes very good, right? And to our primitive brain, taste good means good. We're in trouble in these times because of this. One way I summarize it is, not only are most of us metabolically ill, most of us overweight or obese, most of us on track to develop these chronic diseases of aging like heart disease and diabetes and cancer and dementia, right? But it's also now most of our food supply. So 73% of the food in our environment is highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substances. So it's going to seem good because of that also. It's around us all the time. When I decided, okay, I understand now exactly what highly nutritious foods are and exactly how much of them I should eat to get the results I want, then I had to find a way to enjoy the foods that are really good. They had to become pleasurable. I had to make that a little bit of a project. So that making sure that the food I'm eating is highly pleasurable is part of persuading the primitive brain that we're going to eat these. These are good. We don't need to fight this, right? Does that make sense? Totally makes sense, right? I know the amount of vegetables that add up to great results were more than I was used to eating. They tend to be anywhere from 4 to 10 times the quantities that people are eating. And it's absolutely life-changing. You don't feel hungry between meals because your body's getting the nutrition it needs. All these health issues reversed for me, but I had to figure out how to enjoy them. Now it's not difficult at all. It was just a little bit of a project. They weren't naturally going to be as enjoyable as processed foods that are super engineered to be extra pleasing. Does that make sense? So emotions were one thing I was working with, and images were the next thing to focus on. So I knew visualization could be a powerful tool to communicate with the primitive brain, like just visualizing going through the process of achieving my results. Images speak to the toddler part of us. We can visualize thoroughly enjoying nutritious foods, right? We can visualize and experience in our heads the non-nutritious things I used to call treats just don't appeal to me anymore. So we can change our mind about what's good to eat, and that becomes a powerful step for changing our habits. When we put together images and emotions, we can really help our primitive brain get excited about eating abundant, nutritious foods. This is going to be great. There's no need to be scared of this. Like, I'm going to love this. And many of us have used a powerful visualization exercise to get an emotional breakthrough that makes changing eating and drinking habits so much more helpful. I'm going to create a part 2 video here on that topic because I want to share this powerful exercise called the Dickens process. I don't want to cover too many points in this one video, but I hope this helps you understand that the part of you that's preventing you from achieving your goals is not some kind of devil on your shoulder, which as a girl that grew up Catholic, I sort of pictured it that way. It was more helpful to view it as a childish part of me. It just wants pleasure. It just wants to avoid pain. And it just wants everything to be easy because, in general, those priorities are best for our survival. But we are currently in a food environment that is offering tons of treats that hit all those targets really well. And they don't hit our future health and longevity and vitality well. They're standing opposed to those things. And our food environment, the food industry is spending billions of dollars learning how to manipulate that part of our brain. So we need to figure out how to persuade that part of our brain. We can talk to it, we can persuade it to adopt new habits, but we don't do it by writing out goals. We don't do it with language or logic. We can start to do it with emotions and imagery. Visualization can be a helpful tool for this to speak to our primitive brain. But we have to be smart about using tools like this. And when we use effective tools and get our primitive brain supporting our intentions, our wiser intentions, then healthy eating and sustainable weight loss becomes easier and more natural and more enjoyable. I really can't wait for you to experience this. It's so much easier than dieting. It's so much more effective than dieting, and it's so much more natural. And if you want to dive deeper and explore how you can be a Slender for Good rock star and get the coaching and guidance and supportive community that will make it all easier for you, learning to use tools like goal setting and visualization in ways that help instead of making things worse, let's get on a call together. I'd love to explore with you how to make 2025 your breakthrough year. All right.